and others have criticized you for using the phrase Chinese virus. How do you feel about that?
China was putting out information which was false, that our military gave this to them. That was false. And rather than having an argument, I said, I have to call it where it came from. It did come from China. So I think it's a very accurate term.
So we have seen countless stories over the past few days criticizing President Trump's use of the word foreign or Chinese to describe this pandemic. Some consider those words insensitive, but there hasn't been much talk about the rhetoric that's currently coming out of China's state-run media. One article says the world owes China a thank you. Another suggests imposing pharmaceutical export controls on the United States. In other words, withholding pharmaceuticals from our country that we currently get from China to, quote, plunge them, meaning the United States, into the mighty sea of coronavirus. So that raises a lot of questions. Here now is Marc Thiessen, former chief speechwriter to President George W. Bush and co-host of the American Enterprise Institute's podcast, What the Hell is Going On? Never has there been a more apt question. And Juan Williams, co-host of The Five and Fox News political analyst. Great to have both of you with us tonight.
Mark, with you, Martha.
Let me start with you. You wrote a piece on this. Do you think that calling it the Chinese virus or discussing where the virus originated and how the leadership in China, not the Chinese people themselves, has handled this from the beginning?
Absolutely, 100% we should be calling it that and laying the blame right at the feet of the Chinese Communist Party. Why is our economy in free fall? Why are our airlines in bankruptcy? Why are we all living in our homes and having our kids from school? Why are our stocks with all of our college funds and our retirement plans plummeting? It's because China is a totalitarian communist dictatorship that lied to its people and lied to the world. If China had been more interested in suppressing the virus than suppressing the truth, we would not be having a global pandemic. They knew in mid-December that this had achieved human-to-human transmission because medical workers were getting sick. Yet a month later, the head of China's CDC said there's very low risk of human transmission. They held a banquet where tens of thousands of families shared bowls of food and chopsticks, and then millions of people were allowed to leave from Wuhan, spreading this all across the world. Only after that did they finally have a quarantine. They lied to their own people. They lied to the world, and we have a global pandemic because of the Chinese Communist Party. They should own it.
Let me just put up a picture of Dr. Li, who some people may remember, an ophthalmologist who posted his concerns on Weibo from a hospital bed after he sent out an initial warning. He wanted to get the word out, and then he was arrested eventually for making false comments and that had severely disturbed the social order. And now we are where we are, and so are so many of those people who lost their lives in China, Juan.
Yeah, so, I mean, the question is, why is the President of the United States focused on that kind of language, you know, when in fact it doesn't help us here in this country as we try to resolve the problem? I think we have to be forward-looking. But if you look back when the president was first asked about this virus, what he said was, you know, it's okay, we're going to have it under control, it's not a problem. And then he said that he trusted Xi Jinping, the Chinese leader, and trusted the way China was dealing with this problem, no need to worry. And then a month later, when China was in a lockdown, and the WHO, the World Health Organization, had declared this a global pandemic, epidemic, I think, or global emergency, again, the United States was slow to react. So when the president now switches from trusting the Chinese leader, to calling this the Chinese or China virus, it just strikes me as either politically convenient or, I mean, the fear is a lot of people who are Asian descent in this country feel that they are being now targeted as if they're responsible.
Well, they shouldn't. I mean, you know, the reason that MERS is called MERS, it's Middle East Respiratory Syndrome, based on where it originated. So, you know, I don't think no one is blaming you know, Chinese people, Chinese citizens in America.
It shouldn't happen.
So but that's not what's happening. That is not what's happening. But to the extent of what you know, about what Juan is saying, excuse me, Mark, about the fact that was the president too trusting of President Xi in the early stages of this?
Well, you know, the thing is, we didn't know how badly China had mishandled this because they were lying. It was only when reporters from the New York Times and the Wall Street Journal and the Washington Post dug into this, and they documented in very long stories in their papers the details of how the doctors were trying to get the word out, how the Chinese health ministry suppressed them and actually told them to destroy the samples and destroy the tests and all of this. And that's why, quite frankly, the Chinese government is kicking these reporters out, because they're still trying to lie to us. These people exposed it. And so we didn't know how badly the Chinese government had handled this until quite recently when these stories came out. So, you know, that's not President Trump to blame, but we should be blaming the Chinese Communist Party. And quite frankly, when this is all over and we add up all the damage, I think we should send them a bill.
Or maybe we should extricate ourselves from some of these, you know, from some of our business connections, of which there are many, 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 many. So thanks, guys. Juan, Mark, always good to see you both.
Thank you.
Nice to see you.
So tonight is actually a primary election night.